Could a lone girl turn the tables on her bullies? 3 boys followed her into the bathroom, thinking they could silence her, but they didn't know she came prepared. Ammani Carroll had exactly 6 minutes to herself. She didn't ask for much, just a break from the cafeteria noise and the stares that always seemed to follow her no matter where she sat. Her English teacher, Mr. Braddock, didn't even look up when she held up the hall pass. He just nodded once, still scribbling something on the whiteboard, and she was gone. The hall was quiet. She liked that. Quiet gave her room to think. She tucked her hands in the pocket of her hoodie and walked slow, counting the tiles like she always did when she needed to feel in control. 27 steps from the cafeteria to the girls' bathroom on the west end of the school. It wasn't the closest one, but that was the point. Nobody used it. The teachers didn't even go near it. That little hallway felt like a secret tunnel out of everything loud, fake, and petty. Out of them. But today, someone else knew about her secret. As she turned the corner, she saw them, 3 boys, Tyler Crayons, Jackson Hayes, and Malik Stafford. All 3 leaning against the wall across from the bathroom like they were waiting for something or someone. Ammani's stomach tightened, not because she was scared. She didn't do scared, not in front of people. It was more like her brain hit record, like it was trying to capture everything all at once. Tyler was cracking his knuckles. Jackson had that same smirk he always wore when he was about to say something stupid. And Malik was quiet, watching her like he already knew what she'd do. She looked straight ahead, no eye contact, no flinch, just walked into the bathroom like she didn't even see them. The door creaked shut behind her. She stepped into the first stall, closed it softly, and locked it. Her heart was pounding now, not from fear, but from what she already knew was coming. Voices followed her inside, laughing, whispering, then footsteps, 1, 2, 3. "Yo," someone said. It was Jackson. "You good in there, Carol?" She didn't answer. "You ain't going to cry or nothing, right? 'Cause that'd be real awkward." Silence. "Remember that time in history class?" Tyler chimed in louder. "When she called me out in front of everybody for that slavery joke, man, I was just playing. But nah, she wanted to act like some activist." More laughter. One of them kicked the stall door lightly. Ammani stood perfectly still, listening, breathing. Her hands were steady. Then Malik spoke, quiet, flat. "She thinks she better than us, like for real. You won't believe what she did next." They didn't know she had her phone already recording, propped on the little toilet paper dispenser. She pressed the side button twice before she stepped in. She didn't plan all of this, but she wasn't stupid either. She knew when a storm was coming, and this one was about to hit hard. But before we get to what Ammani did next, let's go back a bit, because this moment didn't start here, not really. Ammani Carroll lived on the south side of Fresno, California, in a 2-bedroom apartment with her mom and her little brother, Khalil. They didn't have a lot, but the place was clean, the bills got paid, and her mom always made sure dinner was hot, even if it was just grilled cheese and soup. Ammani's room was her favorite place in the world, books stacked high against one wall, notebooks spread across her desk like puzzle pieces, a whiteboard she used to map out her dreams, law school, UCLA, maybe even something bigger. She didn't know yet, but she felt it. At school, though, it was different. She was one of 7 black kids in a school of nearly 600. 7th grade had been rough. 8th was worse. Not because people were outwardly mean, at least not at first. It was more the way they made her feel like she didn't belong, like when she'd raise her hand with the right answer and the teacher would call on someone else anyway, or when someone would say her name slowly, like it was hard to pronounce even though they had no trouble with Giovanni or Anastasia, or when the lunch table went quiet the second she sat down. You start to notice those things. Even if no one ever says it out loud, you hear it. You feel it. She'd gotten used to walking alone, sitting alone, working alone, but she wasn't bitter. She just didn't waste her time trying to fit in. The one place where she let herself speak up was class. If something wasn't right, she said so. Like last week in Mr. Patel's history class. They were watching a documentary about civil rights and Tyler Cray leaned over and whispered loud enough for half the class to hear, "Betty Ammani is about to stand up and give a speech." Then he laughed. Ammani didn't even look at him. She raised her hand. "Mr. Patel," she said, calm but firm, "can I ask why we're glossing over the fact that black people were being beaten and jailed just for walking down the street?" "You skipped that part." Mr. Patel blinked like he wasn't expecting it. The class got quiet. Tyler muttered, "Dang, relax." And that's when she turned to him. "I'm relaxed. You're just uncomfortable." Somebody whispered, "Boo." And the class laughed. But not at her, at him. Tyler didn't like that. Not at all. And when someone like Tyler doesn't like being embarrassed, they don't just forget about it. After that day, things shifted, small stuff at first. Shoulder bumps in the hallway, side eyes in gym. Then Jackson started mimicking the way she talked, said she sounded like a librarian. Malik never said much. He just stared. He had this way of leaning in like he was daring you to say something. But Ammani never responded. She just kept walking. At home, she told her mom bits and pieces, but not the whole thing. Her mom already worked 2 jobs and worried about everything. Ammani didn't want to add more stress. She figured if she just kept quiet, it would blow over. But it didn't. And that's how we got to that bathroom door. That's why those boys were waiting. Not because they were just joking, not because they were confused or misunderstood, but because she embarrassed them and they needed to remind her of her place. But what they didn't know was that Ammani already knew hers, and she wasn't about to give it up. It started the way these things usually do, quiet, then cruel. The Monday after the history class incident, Tyler strutted into homeroom wearing a fake Malcolm X t-shirt he'd printed on his own printer. It had a speech bubble that said, "Relax. It's just a joke." He made sure to sit 2 seats from Ammani and turned around every few minutes to check if she was still mad. Jackson kept a running bit in the cafeteria. "Yo, did you know Ammani's grandfather was a freedom fighter?" Then he'd fake a salute, yell, "Power to the people," and burst into laughter. The kids at their table joined in, not because it was funny, but because nobody wanted to be the one to say it wasn't. And Malik never laughed, never joined in. He just watched, always leaning on something, chewing the inside of his cheek like he was waiting to see how far things would go. Ammani ignored them, or tried to. She kept her face unreadable, her voice steady, her steps sure. That was the only control she had. And for the most part, it worked until gym class. Coach Fernandez made everyone pair up for a volleyball drill. Ammani's usual partner, Tara, was out sick. So, Coach pointed at her and said, "Carol, you're with Malik." Ammani didn't flinch, just nodded, and walked over to the net. The minute they started the drill, Malik threw the ball too hard twice. The third time, he spiked it right at her face. It missed by inches and slammed into the bleachers behind her. Coach blew the whistle. "Yo, Stafford, what's your problem?" Malik just shrugged. "Slipped." Coach narrowed his eyes, but didn't push it. "Watch it next time." Later in the locker room, Ammani sat quietly on the bench while the other girls changed. She heard them whispering. "I mean, she kind of brings it on herself. She's always got an attitude. I heard she called Mr. Patel racist 'cause he didn't call on her." That wasn't what happened, but truth didn't matter here, perception did. After school, she stayed behind in the library to work on a group science project. The other 3 kids didn't show. When she texted one of them, Amy Greaves, Amy texted back, "We already finished it. Sorry." No explanation, no warning, just done. That night, Ammani stared at the ceiling in her room. Khalil was asleep. Her mom was working late, and she just lay there thinking, what exactly did I do wrong? But deep down, she already knew the answer. She didn't laugh when she was supposed to. She didn't stay quiet when it was expected. She made someone like Tyler feel stupid in front of a room full of people. And that's something certain kids never forgive. The next day, Ammani walked into her second period class and found a note folded on her desk, no name, no handwriting she recognized. It said, "Bet you won't say nothing next time." She stared at it for a long time, then folded it back and tucked it into her backpack. Did she tell anyone? No, because what would she say? And who would believe her? Her school had posters about zero tolerance for bullying. They did assemblies about community values. But when real things happened, things that didn't look like bruises or threats, nobody saw them. Nobody wanted to. It was easier to say kids will be kids or worse, she's probably just being sensitive. So Ammani said nothing until that Wednesday. Lunch had been loud. She hadn't eaten much, just picked up some fries and stared out the window near her usual table in the corner. Then she stood up, threw her tray away, and walked toward the exit. The boys were already out there waiting. She saw them, and she still kept walking. That's when she decided if it happened, but it wasn't going to be on their terms. And the moment she stepped into that bathroom, she made a choice they didn't see coming. The second the door clicked shut behind her, Ammani felt it, not fear, focus. She didn't rush. She didn't panic. She walked to the far stall and locked it like she'd done 100 times before. Her backpack hung from the hook, but her phone was already out, silent mode, camera on, front facing. She pressed record and angled it low on the toilet paper dispenser. No flash, no sound. She stood still and waited. The boys didn't follow right away. At first, there was just quiet, then a push against the door. It creaked open. She heard them laughing, not loud, low, and deliberate. The kind of laugh people use when they know you can't leave. Footsteps on tile, one pair, then two more. Dang, Jackson said, it really smells like cocoa butter in here. Tyler laughed. Yo, chill. Then his voice dropped low. You in there, Ammani? Silence. She didn't move. She wanted every second on video. You know what your problem is? Tyler said. You think you're smarter than everybody else. Like you got to correct people. Always trying to educate somebody. She heard someone drop something, maybe a book bag. Then another voice, Malik. I heard your dad dipped. That true? She stayed quiet. What? Jackson added. You only talk in class? Only got a mouth when there's a teacher watching? The toilet paper dispenser shook slightly. One of them was leaning on the stall now. Then Tyler's voice, mocking, say something now, Queen. What happened to all that energy from history class? That's when Ammani spoke, not loud, not angry, just loud enough. You really think I'm scared of y'all? Silence, then laughter again. You should be, Malik said. She unlatched the door and stepped out. The look on their faces shifted the second they saw her. She wasn't crying. She wasn't shaking. She was calm, unbothered, and recording. She held her phone low, but angled just right. Keep talking, she said. You're doing great. Tyler's eyes flicked to the phone. Yo, you recording? Jackson laughed like it was still a joke. You think anybody's going to care? Not yet, she said. Malik stepped forward. Turn it off. She didn't move. Tyler reached for the phone, but before he got close, the bathroom door swung open again. And in walked Camille Harper, a freshman, quiet, kept to herself. Ammani didn't even know she was still on campus. Most of the freshman lunch block had already cleared out. Camille stopped cold, looked around, took in the scene, 3 boys, 1 girl, and a phone pointed right at them. Do y'all need help in here? Camille asked slow. Tyler stepped back. Malik looked away. Jackson muttered, we were just leaving, and shoved his hands in his pockets. They filed out one by one. Camille stood in the doorway. Ammani didn't say a word, just walked past her, calm, still filming. Her hands weren't shaking. Her legs didn't buckle, not because it didn't matter, but because it did. And for the first time, the power in that room wasn't theirs anymore. It was hers. But that moment in the bathroom didn't stay in the bathroom, because the second that video left her phone, everything changed. Ammani didn't say anything when she left the bathroom. She didn't go to the principal. She didn't find a teacher. She didn't even tell Camille what had just happened. She walked straight to her next class, sat in her seat, and opened her notebook like it was just another Wednesday. But her phone stayed warm in her hoodie pocket. She didn't post the video. She sent it to one person, her cousin Nadia. Nadia was a junior at Edison High across town, the kind of cousin who always knew what to do even when the adults didn't. 5 minutes after Ammani hit send, Nadia replied, "They really tried you. Ammani, you good?" She texted back, "Yeah, just don't want them to get away with it. Say less." That was all Nadia needed. By fifth period, Nadia had forwarded the clip to two people, one a girl on the school's Black Student Union Council, the other a senior at Roosevelt High, who ran a local Instagram page called Central Valley Voices, a platform for students' stories, mainly about things schools ignored. The video wasn't flashy. It didn't show violence, no fists, no shouting. Just three boys crowding a girl in a bathroom, the jokes, the pressure, the smirking, the silence. Then Ammani's voice, "Keep talking. You're doing great." That line landed hard. By 6 p.m., the video had 12,000 views. By 9 p.m., it had 48,000. Comments poured in. "This is what bullying looks like when there's no bruises. She kept it together better than I ever could. Where is the school in all this?" The next morning, the school's front office phone rang nonstop. Parents wanted answers. One dad threatened to call the local news. Ammani walked into school like normal, hoodie up, backpack on. She could feel the energy shift. People didn't whisper like they used to. They stared now, but not the same way, not with that look like she didn't belong. Now they looked aware. A few even nodded at her as she passed, not friends, not even classmates she'd ever talked to, just kids who saw the video and realized she'd stood up to something most people run from. She made it to second period before the call came. Ammani Carroll to the principal's office. She took her time packing up. Principal Garvey wasn't alone. Sitting beside him was Assistant Principal Lynn, School Counselor Miss Keene, and on the far end of the table, Malik's mother. Ammani sat down and kept her voice low. "Why am I here?" Principal Garvey cleared his throat. "We've been made aware of a video circulating online. You appear to have recorded a private moment between students without permission, which may violate." "I recorded myself being harassed," she interrupted, calm, just like in the bathroom. "Miss Carroll, we understand that." "No," she said, "you didn't understand it when I reported Jackson for copying my homework. You didn't understand it when Tyler mimicked my voice in gym. You only understand now because the whole city's watching." Ms. Keene leaned forward. "Ammani, we're trying to create a safe space for you to share how you're feeling." Ammani turned to her. "I don't need a safe space. I needed a safe school. You all had 2 years to figure that out." Silence. Then Malik's mom spoke up, her voice low and tense. "My son said they were just playing." Ammani looked right at her. "Would you be okay with 3 boys cornering your daughter in a bathroom?" That shut the room up fast. Principal Garvey folded his hands. "We're conducting a formal review of what happened. There will be consequences. We appreciate you coming forward." "I didn't come forward," Ammani said. "The truth did." She stood up and walked out. That night, the school released a statement. "We are aware of a recent incident involving several students. While we cannot comment on individual cases, we are committed to fostering an inclusive and respectful environment for all." It didn't mention her name, but it didn't need to. Everybody already knew. But the real story didn't end with that statement, because when the truth comes out, it doesn't just stop at the surface, it drags everything underneath up with it. The next morning, school didn't feel like school. The front office was flooded with reporters. By 8:15 a.m. security had blocked off the parking lot entrance. 3 school board officials showed up unannounced and walked straight into a closed-door meeting with Principal Garvey. Inside the building, the tension was thick. Students weren't talking about sports or TikTok or weekend plans anymore. They were talking about Ammani, and not just her, what she represented. What happened in that bathroom hit people different, not because it was new, because it wasn't, but but because it was finally caught on camera, because she stayed calm. Because she held her ground without screaming, without hitting, without begging. By lunch, 2 other girls, one Latina, one Filipino, had come forward, told their own stories, different details, same thread, bathroom confrontations, lunch table jokes, teachers looking the other way. That Thursday, the district superintendent arrived with a crisis response team. Ammani saw them through the office window, men in button-downs, women with clipboards checking boxes while teachers kept glancing at their watches. She was called in again. This time she wasn't alone. Her mom sat beside her, quiet, tired, but locked in. "I appreciate y'all calling me," she said, "but don't think for a second this is about concern. You're covering tracks." The counselor tried to soften things. "We're looking to rebuild trust." Ammani's mom raised an eyebrow. "Didn't know trust was in your budget." Mr. Garvey cleared his throat and handed them both a printed copy of a new district respect and inclusion policy. It looked nice, logos, bullet points, diversity buzzwords. Ammani flipped through it and slid it back across the table. "I already know what respect looks like. Y'all just forgot." Outside that room, changes started to happen. Teachers, especially the ones who'd been quiet, suddenly wanted to talk. Mr. Patel apologized for not stepping in when Tyler made his joke, said he'd misread the moment. Coach Fernandez pulled her aside in the hallway. "I should have benched Malik that day in gym. That's on me." Ammani didn't say much. She didn't need to, because now everyone was paying attention, even people who never looked her way before. On Friday, the school organized a listening circle in the library. Half the room was full of students who wanted to talk. The other half, mostly teachers, administrators, and a handful of parents. Ammani didn't plan to speak, but when the mic passed her way, she stood, no notes, no speech, just her voice. "I didn't record that video to be famous. I did it because I was tired. Tired of being the only one who sees what's happening. Tired of pretending jokes don't land. Tired of thinking that if I say something, I'm the problem." She paused. "But now you all saw it. And if you ignore it now, that's on you, not me." Nobody clapped, not because they didn't care, because they knew it wasn't a performance. It was a warning. The school announced suspensions the following Monday: Tyler, Jackson, and Malik, 2 weeks off campus, plus mandatory counseling. It wasn't justice, but it was something. And for once, they didn't walk away clean. But the biggest shift wasn't about punishment, it was about who was watching. The community had stepped in now. Local parents organized a town hall. A black alum from the school came back to speak. A local college offered to host workshops on racial bias and student safety. Ammani even got a letter from a woman who graduated back in 1996. She wrote, "I walked those halls, too. I kept my head down. You didn't. Thank you." Ammani kept the letter in her notebook. Did she feel proud? Not exactly. It was more like relieved that maybe this time things wouldn't go back to normal, because normal wasn't working. But the real lesson wasn't about the boys. It wasn't even about the school. It was about something bigger: what happens when one person stands still and everyone else is forced to face what they've been avoiding. 2 weeks later, Ammani sat in front of a packed gymnasium. The school board had opened the meeting to the public. Parents came, teachers came. Some students came because they had to. Others came because they wanted to see if what happened to Ammani would actually matter. The podium was low, the mic a little shaky, but Ammani didn't flinch. She wore her favorite hoodie, navy blue, the one with the small tear in the sleeve, and black jeans, no makeup, no styling, just her as she was. Principal Garvey sat in the front row, superintendent to his left, Tyler's mom to his right. Nobody looked comfortable. She scanned the room, then she spoke. "I wasn't supposed to be the girl in the bathroom video. I wasn't trying to prove a point. I just didn't want to be silent anymore." The room was still. See, when you're the only black girl in the room, you learn how to shrink, how to not draw attention, how to make your voice softer, your words safer. You learn how to make other people comfortable even when you're not. Somewhere in the crowd, a woman wiped her eyes. But comfort is what let this happen. Comfort is why people saw things, heard things, knew things, and still looked the other way. She looked toward the back of the gym where a group of students stood along the wall. Camille was there. So was a boy she barely knew, a quiet kid from art class who gave her a little nod. Now, I didn't speak up because I was brave. I spoke up because silence wasn't protecting me. It was protecting them. Then she folded her notes and stepped down, no applause. Not at first. Just quiet, heavy, real. Then one clap, then two. Then the whole room stood. It wasn't a movie moment, it was earned. In the weeks that followed, the school made changes, real ones. Mandatory bias training, a student-led safety committee, an anonymous reporting system that didn't just send complaints into a black hole. Ammani didn't join any of the committees, she didn't need to. She'd already done her part. She went back to her routine: books, notebooks, long hallway walks. But people treated her different now. Teachers listened when she spoke. Students asked if they could sit with her at lunch. Even Jackson, after serving his suspension, left a note in her locker. Didn't know you were recording, but I get why you did it. She didn't write back, she didn't need to, because this wasn't about Jackson. This wasn't even about her anymore. It was about how quickly things could go wrong when everyone's looking the other way and what it takes to finally look back. One afternoon, as she waited outside for her mom to pick her up, Camille came up beside her. "You ever get scared?" she asked. Ammani thought for a second. "Yeah, but scared doesn't mean quiet." Camille smiled. "I'm glad I walked in when I did." Ammani gave a soft nod. "Me, too." That weekend, Ammani and her mom sat on their old couch watching a news segment about student safety. Her name came up briefly, a screenshot of the video, a quote from her speech. Her mom didn't say much, just reached over and held her hand. "You shook something loose," she said. "Some people walk their whole lives and never do that." Ammani didn't answer, she didn't need to. She just held her mom's hand and looked ahead. The world hadn't changed overnight. But it noticed her now. And sometimes that's how it starts. Sometimes the loudest protest is calm. Sometimes power looks like stillness. And sometimes all it takes to break a system wide open is one person refusing to back down. If you ever find yourself in a room where something feels wrong, where silence starts to feel like agreement, don't shrink, say something, record something, be something that forces the rest of the room to change, because if Ammani Carroll could do it alone, cornered, and calm, then so can you. Brought to you by Dark Stories.